Hey guys, welcome back. Now, quite some time ago I did an unboxing and first impressions video of the Realme 7 Pro as well as this, the Realme Watch S, alright? I've also done a full review of my experience using the Realme 7 Pro, and I'll link both of those videos down in the description below if you want to check those out. But today we're going to talk about my experience and my observations about this, the Realme Watch S. Okay, very quickly going through the specs of the phone. So this has an IPS LCD screen with a resolution of about 360 by 360. Now, having an IPS LCD screen or display means that you don't have an always-on display because that's usually only available on OLED screens. The Realme Watch S also supports Bluetooth 5.0 and has an IP68 water and dust resistance. Now, in terms of operating system, it seems to have Realme's own operating system. It doesn't use Google Wear OS, which is kind of a shame because like when I reviewed the Oppo Watch, I really like Google Wear OS. Now, this also has a 390 mAh battery, and we'll talk more about the battery later. But looking at design, so first of all, you've got an aluminium housing or aluminium alloy housing, which is great. In terms of the screen, so this is a glass screen, or specifically it's actually a Corning Gorilla Glass screen, so that's really good. Now, I have to admit, first impressions design-wise or build-wise wasn't the best. If you saw my unboxing video, I said that it felt a bit cheap and it felt a bit light. But surprisingly enough, after putting it on, first thing I noticed that it was extremely tough. Well, first of all, like I said, it's got an aluminum housing, it's got Corning Gorilla Glass. Now, I've been wearing this for I think almost 2 months, maybe a month and a half, and I'm really clumsy, so this has been knocked around quite a fair bit, and till now I haven't seen a single scratch or dent. Even the strap, I mean, it's a silicone strap, and at first I felt like it felt a bit cheap, but putting it on, after a while, I realized that it was actually pretty comfortable, and anyone who's sort of hairy like me would vouch for this. That sometimes you wear some smartwatches, it tends to pull on your hair. I did not have that issue at all with these. Now, in terms of features, it is actually surprising. It is chock full of features for a smartwatch at this price, and of course we'll talk about the price later. But first of all, in terms of fitness tracking, you've got all the regular apps. You've got the option, to track your steps, your heart rate, which is of course can be ongoing. It tracks your sleep as well, which I actually thought was pretty accurate. And then you've got like a shortcut here to scroll and see all the different exercises. You got 16 options here, which is about 16 more than I actually do. Now, the Realme Watch S also has an Sp02 meter, which basically measures your blood oxygen level. Now, I obviously can't vouch for that because I don't have a proper medical device to measure and compare. But at the same time, even Realme, on their website, they actually state and they say that, that option is not meant, or the watch itself is not meant to be a medical instrument. So, I mean, I don't know what it's there for then, but I'm assuming that it's pretty reliable. Now, in terms of the step tracker, it got a bit weird at first. So when I had it on, I used to walk around, I would realize that by the end of the day, I would have a lot less steps than I normally would, which I would use like my current smartwatch, the Fitbit Ionic. And I realized that, I'm losing a lot of steps, even though I'm kind of doing the same thing every day. So one day, my wife and I, we decided to go to the Singapore Zoological Gardens, and we took the opportunity to test it out. So I wore the Realme Watch S, my wife wore her usual Fitbit Versa smartwatch, and we walked around and we basically walked everywhere together, of course, except the restroom, but I don't think that's a big issue. But after coming back, so my wife registered about 11,500 steps, but I only registered about 8,000, so definitely an issue there. So I contacted the guys and I told them about this issue. So they said that, they haven't had any complaints about this issue before, but they advised me to update the firmware and then try it out again. So I did that. So I went to the app, which is the Realme Link app that you need to use. And true enough, there was a firmware update available. And I updated that, and then I decided to test it out again. So this time round, my wife and I, we decided to go to the Resort World Singapore Sea Aquarium, all right? And same thing again, we walked around a lot. And this time, just as a second test or an additional test, my wife wore her Fitbit Versa, I wore the Realme Watch S, and I also wore my Fitbit Ionic. And this time around, I am happy to announce that the steps were almost identical. So yeah, talking about that Realme Link app. So you actually need that app to pair the watch to your phone, and then you get all the same information that you get on your watch on the phone. And yeah, pairing the watch to the phone was actually really easy. Unfortunately, I forgot to film the entire process, but trust me when I say it was surprisingly easy to pair. So yeah, once you pair the watch with your phone, you get all the information, all the same tracking information that you can view on your watch, you can view it on the phone as well. But of course, on the phone, on the Realme Link app, you get additional features as well. Now back to the screen, one thing I forgot to mention was the screen. Now it gets seriously bright, which is good and bad. Now it's really good in outdoors when it's really bright day. You get it to its full brightness, you can still see it very clearly. I usually just set it to auto because it does a pretty good job of adjusting the brightness according to your surrounding brightness. The bad side of this is that when you are sleeping, now it's really sensitive. The slightest move and it turns on, and even at its lowest brightness, at like brightness level 1, it's still really bright when all the lights are off. So there are two ways to solve this. One is you can go to the settings on your watch. You don't need your phone for this. Just go to your watch and disable the option to wake the screen when you raise your arm. The other way, which I think is a simpler way, is to just swipe left. So when you swipe left on your screen, you can actually turn on night mode. So night mode basically does the same thing. It turns off your screen so that it doesn't wake when you move your hand. But not just that, it has additional things. So it blocks or stops any notifications from your phone being sent to your watch, so you don't get waken up by that either. And yes, you can get notifications sent from your phone to your watch, which is great, but I think almost every smartwatch allows that. And of course, you can configure which app specifically you want the notification sent to using the Realme Link app in the settings. Now, one bummer is that even though you get a notification, like for example, if I get a WhatsApp message, I can't actually reply using the watch, and there are quite a few watches that can do that. Some of them might have a mini keyboard, which I think is ridiculous. But like my Fitbit or even the Oppo watch, you get some preset responses that you can customize so that you can just, reply at one touch. Now, honestly, that's one thing that I didn't think I would use, but the minute I started using it, you could really feel it missing when I had this. And of course, you can customize the watch face, which is pretty cool. Now, you actually get about 5 presets built in to the watch already, or you can go to the Realme Link app and choose between a whole multitude of different faces. And even if that's not good enough for you, you can actually customize your own watch face, alright? Now, I don't mean you can design your own, but basically you can choose any picture on your phone and put that on the watch as your watch face, which I don't think I've seen any other watch do that, so that's pretty cool. Alright, and now about the battery life, alright? So the battery life is actually one of the most amazing things and also one of its biggest flaws. So like I mentioned earlier, it has a 390 milliamp hour battery, which may seem really small, but it's actually pretty good for a watch, and it shows. So the Realme Watch S is rated for 15 days, okay? So usually, yeah, you know what? You're never gonna get the same amount of battery life that what is rated for, and in this case, it's the same, but not in the way you might think. Now, after full charge, I got 18 days of battery life, okay? 18 days, 3 more than the rated 15 days. Now that's incredible, but also I think I know why. Now, number one, the battery life would probably drain quicker if I used a lot more of the apps, if I exercise more and measured the stuff a lot more. I'm guessing the battery life wouldn't last as long, but not just that. So, like I mentioned about putting it in night mode when you go to bed. Now, there were a couple of times where I will wake up and I'll go on with the day, and it wouldn't be till like midday that I realized that I forgot to turn off night mode. So there were like a good few hours where the screen wouldn't turn on. So I think that definitely helped the battery life. Okay, but now we come to what is possibly its biggest flaw, alright? So here's the thing. So at one point, the battery reached about 14%, alright? So I charged it up and really quickly, like from 14 to 60% in about 15 minutes. It's incredible. But once I charged it up to about 60%, it lost about 20% in an hour. And then after that, every other hour, it would drop like 1%, or maybe it would last like longer than that before it dropping another 1%. So definitely an issue there. However, when I charged it to full, which again, because of the 65 super dart charging is really, really quick. But if you charge it to full, then it doesn't drop like crazy amounts in the first hour. It actually lasts that full 15 or more days. So yeah, again, I reached out to Realme and I told them about this issue. So they are looking into it and hopefully they can find a fix. Now, again, even after the firmware update, it didn't solve the issue with the battery. It solved the issue with the step tracking, but not with the battery. So hopefully this is something that Realme can fix later on with another firmware update. However, having said all that, if you charge it to full, I mean, it lasts you so long. Even if you don't charge it to full, yeah, you might lose that that 20% at first, but after that it still lasts for days and days. Alright, so let's talk about the price. So the Realme Watch S comes in at only 199 Singapore dollars, right? And so yeah, now the big question here is, would I recommend the Realme Watch S? So now, first of all, I have to say, Realme, what they've done is they've offered a phone with a whole ton of features, chock full of different features that usually are only available on smartwatches that cost a lot more. However, I still think Realme has some work to do to get it, working perfectly. Number one, that whole changing the clock face thing, accidental touches to get it to that mode is a bit annoying. And the other thing is that battery issue, dropping that 20% in the first hour. I really hope that that's fixable in a firmware update. But here's the thing. So later on, if there is a firmware update, unfortunately, because I'm not going to have this watch, I can't test it out. So maybe what I'll do is I'll wait a while. I'll keep in contact with the Realme engineers and see if they got this issue fixed. So if they have the issue fixed, I'll probably ask for it back and we'll do another test. So having said all that, I don't actually think those are real deal breakers for me. If it was up to me, I might wait a bit more. But if you can't, if you're looking for a good smartwatch at a really competitive price, then this might just be the one for you. Alright, so that about wraps up my review of the Realme Watch S. Now, if you like this video, you know what to do, and I would love it if you would subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications on our next video. I'm JP, and I'll see you real soon.